Is that transgender or what is that?
Yeah, that's
All
what
right, let's talk about that.
Let's go. Okay.
What's your thoughts on the trannies?
Yeah.
Well, I think they're mentally ill. I'm totally against it. I think it's
Wow.
it is. It's just by definition, it's an aberration.
You want to know why I brought it up? Because
why?
when we were talking about our genomes and our brains and our all that, because you can change that kind of stuff with medicine. You can,
but no,
because if I want to be a boy, I can take medicine and then
you can't have a penis though.
Yeah, you can.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
How are you going to grow a penis?
Reassigned surgeries.
Absolutely.
No, but those aren't real penises. They like
are. I know somebody that
slice
fucked
a
a
part of your
transgender,
arm
and
off
she said
and
it was
they roll
amazing,
it up
actually.
like Play-Doh.
Nope, she said it was she said it was amazing.
But you don't have balls.
No, I didn't ask about balls.
No balls, no semen, not a guy.
No, he ejaculated. He ejaculated. She absolutely told me that. She absolutely told me that. She absolutely told me that.
Impossible. What is it, like some kind of
How?
robotic? Yeah, how does that even happen?
How did he get bulbo?
Baby, she told me he came, and she told me that it looked and felt the same. She could have been lying, but that's what she told me.
Bro has no balls, not a guy. You can't.
Okay, but the point being is, you think that transgender people are mentally ill?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because how are they mentally ill when, just speaking of sexual reassignment surgery, because that's where we're going, you have to go to psychoanalytical therapy for a year.
Yeah.
You have to get a stamp and prove that you're not mentally ill. Then they give you the surgery.
Yeah, and I think that that's all heavily politicized. I think that body dysmorphia by itself, somebody thinking they're a guy when they're a girl or a girl when they're a guy, I think that by itself is something that has to be treated. And here's why. A guy cannot become a girl. You could stand in a garage. It doesn't make you a car. You could do all kinds of body modifications.
But you can. Because you can because of medicine and because of progression. You literally can.
What if Nick is saying they have gender dysphoria, which is, I believe, by the DSM-5 considered a mental illness?
Yes, it is.
And the treatment is gender reassignment surgery.
Right. Yeah, and then they're cured.
But that's the thing. I think that that's sort of enabling. I think
But
that to
how
say
are you not a medical professional and you are deciding?
I'm not a doctor.
Then how are you having such a stark opinion on what is the appropriate evidence-based treatment?
Well, but it's interesting you say that, because what it sounds like is you're telling me that the only way that we can come to know things about this is through data, science, academia. The reason I say that is because I believe in a natural law. I believe in a moral law. I think it's unnatural that a person would undergo a surgical treatment to remove their genitals and then create new genitals. I think that's unnatural. And because it violates what we're supposed to be,
biblically,
man,
you mean biblically? That's the part.
Exactly.
That's the piece that you're leaving out. But yeah.
Well, but I think that even not being Christian, you would still say that that's unnatural. Unless you're like a Satanist or something.
I think there is, in my quest to find common ground with someone who I might disagree with, I think there is some merit to what you're saying. It is politicized, and there are a large amount of people who maybe wouldn't have existed if it wasn't politicized. But I don't think that takes away from the fact that there are still people who are affected with gender dysphoria. And unfortunately, they have tried different therapies, different techniques, different medical interventions. And the one thing that they come to is gender reassignment surgery. I think, unfortunately, now there are a lot of people who come to regret their gender reassignment surgery, which maybe is shedding a bad light on a community that is such a small percentage. There are. I think his name is Matt Walsh. He's like the guy with the glasses, and he has a platform. He made something.
What is a woman?
What is a woman?
Mm-hmm.
And he had, I think, several interviews with people who might have regretted their gender reassignment surgery. But I don't think that necessarily takes away from, there are at least a percentage worth of a few people who are affected by gender dysphoria.
Yeah, me fundamentally, I think that, you're born a man, you're born a woman, and it's literally your bones. It's
your genetics, it's your chromosomes, yes.
And so, you can cut stuff off and move parts around and change your hormones, but it doesn't make it so. And
but your genomes are different at that point.
The genome is not changed.
Oh, it doesn't change?
The physiology has changed, right? Because you have technically more testosterone or whatever, but the genome, like the human chromosomes, that's
still
not
the
technically
same?
changed. They're still the same, yeah.
Because you're still the same. I mean, you're a guy who has undergone those treatments. You know, like if you're a
Okay.
guy who thinks you're a girl,
So-
you grow all your hair out, cut your penis off. You're a guy that cut his penis off and grew his hair out. Doesn't make you a girl.
Okay, so let's not get too deep into that. Great. So do you think those people should be treated equally?
I think that they should be treated. I think
I
they should
asked,
be
did you think that they should be treated equally?
There's a way to treat that community with respect. There's a way to treat that community with their respect, and I think
No,
because
I asked him that because
But treated equally in what way?
respect.
not respect, not even
okay,
respect. I mean like legally, athletics wise.
Well, I mean,
Healthcare.
you know, there's a lot of
Let's not
people
go to
that do unnatural, degenerate, deviant things and live with mental illness. You know, and so I don't think that there should be any kind of like, you know, they shouldn't be like attacked,
Discriminated
or killed or
against.
cruelty. I think it should be legal to discriminate against them.
We have to be careful with that though, because in a case by case situation, a transgender man coming into the space of a woman can be problematic.
Of course,
Oh,
when
I
it
agree.
comes to bathrooms and stuff like
When it
that,
comes to
there's tons
bathrooms,
of
sports,
cases of
I
kids.
actually-
Well, I mean, hold on. You guys, you two are athletes. How would you feel if men
No,
were to compete with you?
I was just
it's
gonna say
dead.
that.
Like that's not even
Yeah.
a conversation that should be had. Like a
You're
man
physically
is
built
physically,
different.
yeah. Like
Well,
there's
no. Well, let me educate you a little bit.
Medicine,
Let me educate you guys a little bit.
Hold on. You want equality, right? That's what you fought for.
No,
let
it's
me-
not equal.
no,
If you're
because-
born a man and you get a sex change and you competing in women's sports, you still a man at the end of the
No,
day.
because
They take hormones that lessens their
also,
your hamstrings.
Also, no,
There's so
because
many
again,
different things that are different.
because of medical, because of
men are superior to women physically. So yeah.
no,
Yes.
but
Yes,
because
so
of
you got a
medicine.
man trying to
Because
compete
you
in a
get a
women's sport,
surgery,
the man's
you're
gonna
still a
beat the
man.
woman. Like
No, listen.
if
listen.
Myron and I run against each other, and he's like, "Oh, I want to be a girl. I want to run in track," and we run in a 100-meter sprint.
It doesn't
he's
work
gonna
like
beat
that,
me.
though. I'm very vocal about, because I was an athlete as well.
How
So
does it
I
work
am
then?
very vocal about transgenders being able to compete with
No.
in girl sports, right? I
No.
think, like you said, you can have respect. I think that they should have their own sectors.
Yes,
I think they should
agree with that.
compete against each other.
Yes.
However, since society said no, that's too, like, you know, two races or whatever we want to call it,
Segregated.
right? However, what does happen is before they can compete, because it's a very ignorant thing, and I'm using ignorant, you know, for what the actual terminology means, to sit here and think just because Myron wants to join a women's track team, he can. It doesn't work like that. They take hormones, they take therapies, they take tests. So once they start competing with the women,
Yeah, they're on
now,
the same basis.
their
No.
genetic
No.
makeups are the
Technically,
same.
there
No.
were
It is.
male
Not at all.
cheerleaders
That is-
way
that is a
before.
proven
You
fact.
take
Not at all.
hormones, it doesn't
That is
change
not
your
at all.
genetics. You're
Yeah.
just changing
I'm
your
telling you,
body.
in order for a transgender woman
No.
to compete in the Olympics, she has to go through tests and screening. And if her genetics does not come back like mine or like hers or like hers, she won't be able to compete.
I actually used to work in sports medicine before I went into grad school. I had a career as an athletic trainer. I studied this specific situation.
How long ago was this? Because these laws just changed within the last 2 years. So how long ago was this?
Like 2 years ago.
Okay, so that means this happened before the laws changed, but keep going.
So what you're talking
Karis,
about,
y'all know what you're talking about.
what you're talking about is the blood levels of testosterone. So there has to be like a certain level of testosterone. I believe that like the muscle set has to be different, like the body complex, everything is taken into account. However, I feel like if you look at a picture of Leah Thomas compared to like the teammates that she was with, there's just something very different about her athleticism. And we can't deny that. I don't think recognizing the difference is hateful. I think that
But it makes people feel bad.
no, I feel
Nick, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean,
What's because go ahead, Nick.
well, I mean, what we're talking about is they're still guys. You know,
Yes.
they are fundamentally.
word it like that. I'm
They're
not trying to
fundamentally still
changes
guys.
your
word it like that.
genetics. It changes your physical body, but it doesn't change your genetics. At
You
the
may
end
be
of the
growing hair,
day,
but
you're still born a
physically
man.
different. Like,
So you're a
still a
man.
man competing against a
You can
like a-
identify as a woman, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean you're genetically
So-
a woman.
So physically, and how women train compared to how men train is completely different. Like,
But again, once they start
But
taking their hormones and
physically,
their
it doesn't matter
therapy,
what the
it
hormones
lessens
say.
all that.
Physically,
I mean, y'all gotta realize I'm against it as well, but I just know how science affects the body. And so again, when they get to that level of competition, they are literally standing neck and neck to women.
No.
when you do blood tests and panel work.
Because
Are you saying at the Olympic level or the collegiate level only? What are you referring to specifically?
I mean, well, I said Olympic. However,
Olympic.
they still do the same. It's still nowadays there's still the same amount because of the one girl that just won the swimming competition. And everybody got mad.
Yeah.
Because of her, the laws were changed. That's what I'm saying. This is all recent. This ain't something that happened like years ago.
Are there enough people to make their own?
And exactly, that's the problem because it's not enough but it's not enough people to study, and it's not extensive, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not accepting it, but I'm just saying these are facts, and you can actually research this.
And I mean, I try to take in content from both sides, both political sides, whatever. I know people might say, "Oh, this woman's being a TERF." I'm really not trying to do that, but biological women have worked so hard, and for someone to unfortunately be suffering with gender dysphoria, I get that's difficult, but like, come on, man, you can't.
Exactly.
I mean, like I say put their ass in their own category.
They are in their own
Hold on, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
At the end of the day, what makes men men and women women is that guys have the fertilizer, women have the eggs. Biological men will never be able to have kids. Biological women will never be able to read. So at the end of the day, you can't. That's a joke. That's a joke, of course.
So
at the end of the day,
I was with you until that.
just at the end of the day, they will never have the same reproductive faculties, and that's why they're always going to be essentially different. It just goes back to, and you mentioned what is a woman. You have to talk about what is a man, what is a woman, what are these definitions, what distinguishes them.
Yeah.
And the thing that distinguishes them is the complementary role, parts, all those things. And so dressing it up, and it, like you called it, a treatment for a mental illness, it's just that. It's just sort of playing into this fiction. And, you know, the solution for people is reality.
Illness is not fiction.
I was just about to say so. Mental illness.
No, it's the fiction that they're a woman, you know, or they're a man or something.
Well, that's an opinion.
I mean, realistically speaking, men are superior to women in almost every regard, especially from the physicality standpoint. So even when a man is suppressed with hormone suppressants, etc., they still dominate and destroy women in every competition.
Okay, so
I actually competed against a transgender woman in flag football.
You got smacked.
It's unfair.
No. What actually happened was she was wildly uncoordinated, and my team happened to beat her team.
No, but that's one instance where you guys won.
Instance.
I mean, but also, just to go against you guys' points as far as that, what essentially makes a man and a woman. There's literally a transgender man pregnant right now.
I see.
That baby's gonna come out fucked up.
Baby.
She's a woman. She's a woman.
I don't know what the fuck happened.
She's a woman.
I just know that it was a man who became a woman, and that motherfucker's pregnant.
No way.
Wait, a man
that don't sound right.
Can somebody Google this one of y'all who got your phone, please? Y'all think that I'm just pulling shit out my ass at this point. Like,
who would want to be born that way? Who would want to be born out of like a guy's butt?
No,
they
That's your
actually do
birth?
C-sections.
Yeah, they're gonna cut it out of
they do
them.
C-sections.
At the same time,
Y'all not
I'm
seeing.
only disinformed because I'm super fucking against it.
Let me ask
I
you
know what
guys
I'm
this.
talking about.
Do you guys think do you guys not see the clown world that we're in? I think that this is all problematic. That we
absolutely.
have men wanting to be women, and there's a reason why so many guys want to transition over to women and not the other way around, because a woman's life was way easier than a man's life in 2023. That's a whole other thing. But guys trying to have kids, like, this is all a problem. Like, I think this is a big issue. And at the end of the day, it's the women that are taking the L's because the guys are transitioning over to women.
But women are transitioning.
So y'all are the ones losing scholarships. Y'all are the ones getting smacked.
women transitioning into men.
But it's never talked about. It's never talked about.
Exactly.
Hold on. This is the thing that no one wants to admit. The reality is most men transition to women because there's more opportunities and more benefits transitioning from a man to a woman. By far, a man's life is way harder than a woman's life in 2023.
So you think they transitioning because they think the life of a woman is better?
Yes, it is easier.
It is easier.
I don't think that's why they're transitioning. I think it's because they're uncomfortable in their own bodies and they feel like they're supposed to be a woman. That's
a lot of them say that.
They're not transitioning because they're like, oh, I'm a woman. I'm gonna go get all this stuff for free. Like that's not it.
It doesn't putting on makeup and dressing up is not being a woman. That's not being a woman at all.
Women have easier lives in 2023 than men do.
I get modality. We can say that. Modality.
This entire conversation is just so interesting because these people make up like less than 0.5% of the U.S. population, and they have caused so much of a stir. And it takes these issues. Not that they're not important, but like we could talk about how this country treats veterans or like education or access to food or like gas prices. And it's like, we're talking about who gets to use what restroom. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but here's why.
I agree.
But
Here's why it matters, though. It's super important because it's the same thing with homosexuals. Homosexuals are 3% of the population, but the gay marriage debate captured the nation. Why? Because it was about fundamentally redefining sexual morality based around consent, voluntarism, rather than based on marriage. So even though it was something that only applied to a small portion of the population, it was about, is marriage an indissoluble bond between a husband, wife, father, and mother? Or is it you like who you like, it's like an exclusive sex partner? And the same is true with transgender. The bathroom, sports debate, this is just where they're implementing this radical new ideology that man and woman are not meaningful categories when they say that it's totally arbitrary, we can change it. And these just happen to be the points where it contacts society, where it's like, what do you do at the bathroom when it's genitals? What do you do in sports when it's hormones? And so it's super fundamental. Are guys going to be guys? Are they going to be Trump, Clint Eastwood, or are they going to be pussies? You know,
Nick, I got a question for you. Nick, I got a question for you on the transgenderism and the lack of gender identity. Didn't a certain dude with a mustache that might have not got accepted to an art school, didn't he burn a bunch of books on that stuff?
Hitler? Yes. Hitler did do that.
Yeah, he burned a bunch of books on transgenderism and homosexuality.
It's one of the good things that Hitler did, yes.
Yeah, okay, well, great. Shout out to Hitler for that. But back to what he was saying. That was wild. I did not mean that, y'all.
Let's go.
That was wild. Like, no, that was wild. I did not mean that, y'all. I swear to God.
Wait, who made those books, by the way?
Exactly.
Who made those books on the
Magnus Hirschfeld, who happened to be similar to this one.
Hey, well,
the boyfriend. She's Jewish.
Similar. I'm not Jewish.
Similar to this.
No, your boyfriend's Jewish.
Oh.
You got upset because we talked about the Holocaust before.
Yeah.
I like Jewish people.
No, you don't. I heard the last show y'all did.
I like them. They just cause me a lot of problems. You know, they're really.
So I'm gonna go back to what you said though. Hold on. You said you said that the marriage rights thing kind of captured the nation and said that it might have been about whatever you said it might have been about. It wasn't about
sexual exclusivity.
Yeah, thank you. Sexual exclusivity. But wasn't it about the fact that they didn't have the same kind of right as heterosexuals?
Well, but that's just
what it was really about. Like, because why can't two same-sex people get married, but two straight people can?
Because it wasn't about contract law. It was about marriage. It was about they wanted to be called married, and it was also about legitimizing homosexuality.
Right, because of the rights that come with when you get governorly married. It was about that. They didn't want to just keep closet and having these like long-term relationships and then one partner dies and then they don't really have a right because they don't have anything legally binding. They want the same legally binding rights as a heterosexual person.
I disagree.
And you completely dismiss that.
No, I'm saying I disagree. I think all that is really a pretext, because they always say civil rights, equality. When in actuality, what they want is acceptance and normalization, and they want it to be considered as not bad. Because prior to this, homosexuality was considered sinful. The Supreme Court decision came down, I think, in the 60s, and it basically said, like, we don't even need to explain this. It's natural law. Like, homosexuality's wrong. Sodomy's wrong. And so I think, under the pretext of we want visitation rights, we don't want discrimination in the workplace. Like you say, it's about making it less discreet. It's about making it public, normal, accepted. And I'm saying I don't think it should be. I think these things are wrong. I think both things are wrong.
So you don't think that gay people should have equal rights as everybody else?
I don't think they should be they can't get married. No.
I mean,
not married.
Someone would agree. He'll agree.
I disagree.
Don't worry about me. I'm just here for the bank. Continue on.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever had a girlfriend?
No.
Zero. No lace.
Okay, let's talk about what's your perfect partner.